Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. This is Reservations, and I'm Jeremy Blair.
And I'm Ray Whalen. I, once again, couldn't think of a bit fast enough, so I just decided...
We're all heartbroken.
Well, it's alright. I don't think anyone cared. I'm not saying that my bits are decreasing our views, but I have noticed the few times I've used my name, we've gotten a little bit better views.
I see.
I mean, I'm not saying that directly correlates, but
No, of course not.
You know, I mean, but you don't know, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how you been, buddy?
Good.
Well,
Not doing much. Although like I was telling you before we got started, I'm deeply addicted to The Sopranos, which I had never seen before. Surprisingly.
which is crazy because don't you?
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Don't you have the complete series?
Yes. On
And you've never seen it
on Blu-ray? Yeah, the original box set. I bought that.
That's awesome.
Well over 10 years ago. When the Blu-ray box set first came out, that's when I bought it. So you can
That's amazing.
do the math on that, but yeah, I just never watched it. I was intimidated, right?
Well, yeah, it's The Sopranos.
And because I had started it, maybe I had graduated high school, maybe.
Okay.
When I had started it, but honestly, I was too young for it because I wasn't paying full attention to it. I wasn't engaged with it, right?
Okay.
Now, buddy, I'm full in. It's amazing. Why didn't people tell me that this is so good? I'm just kidding. It's very well established. It's one of the greatest American TV shows of all time.
Well, and when you told me, Mom's gonna be so happy because Mom got really, really addicted to The Sopranos as well. So she's actually caught up with the show. I don't think she's listened to Mary and Max yet. But once she gets to this one, I have a feeling either you or I will get a text.
Here is another funny anecdote about The Sopranos. Okay. That I have. So when I was in college, I was at Texas Tech. I went to, for a while, a few months maybe. It seemed like a long time that I was going to this thing. It was the career center to help me build my resume, get it formatted correctly, give me advice, about, life outside of college, what that's going to look like, and, best avenues on, where to look for jobs and all of that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I had the biggest crush on the gal that was helping me out. Okay. No names. That's fine. We don't need a name. Her name was Nicole. But it didn't matter. So I had the biggest crush on her, right? And she was watching The Sopranos and she was talking about it, right? And she goes, "Have you seen it?" I go, "Of course." I love oh my God, I love The Sopranos. And so every once in a while when I would be there, she would ask me a question. She's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this stuff with Meadow." I go, "Oh my God, I know, just wait." I feel bad to this day that I did that.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
So I have in my life lied about having seen The Sopranos.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Imagine someone sends her this episode and she's like, "That son of a bitch." Or I was gonna say, or alternatively, she's like, "Yeah, I knew. He totally was full of shit."
Yeah, it's full of shit. I know.
Oh my God, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That's so great.
but now I can safely say that it's it's awesome. Yeah, it's
Dude,
yeah, it's great. I do, yeah, like you were saying about your mom before we got started. I do find myself swearing more, just to myself in the house or to the dog. Um, you know, like maron, like, and then talking about gabagool, I don't know. It's
so
amazing. Like, for me anyway, what got me so enthralled in the show was really just listening to them talk. I could listen to them talk for my entire life. Like I would say that yes, like I have like my favorite accents, right? Like the Boston accent I can listen to all day, right? There's other like a really good like Tommy Lee Jones type Southern accent I can listen to all day. But dude, this New Jersey mob accent, I'm hooked. I love it, dude. Like, it is amazing.
Dude, so as it also stands to reason, I have not seen The Sopranos either.
Okay.
I agree with you. It seems very daunting and very intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the day will finally come where I'll watch it, but I love this journey that you're on.
Thanks.
And speaking of watching things, Ashley and I watched a new movie. We watched the 2025 I guess you'd say reimagining in quotes of Dracula, the one with Caleb Landry Jones as Dracula.
Yeah.
Ashley really wanted to see it. She saw the first trailer and she was like, "We got to see it." And I don't think we ever got it here.
Is it the one with Christoph Waltz?
Yes.
Yes. Got it. Okay. Go on.
Yeah. And so we rented it on Apple TV. It's not terrible. It's not, but it's also like, I liked it. I liked what they tried to do with the story of Dracula. The only part that's really a reimagining in a way is it's in Paris rather than London.
Okay.
And like they kind of make Dracula more sympathetic, I guess.
Okay.
Trying to understand his reasoning a little bit more, but they also took a lot of elements from the 92 Francis Ford Coppola version, even though like it says that like it's based on the book. There's a lot of while we were watching, I was like, a lot of this is like, I've already seen this before. like how his old man version looks is very reminiscent of Gary Oldman. The biggest thing that Ashley and I agreed on is that Jonathan Harker is worthless in this story. Like, they made Jonathan he's not important. Which, I mean, one could say that Jonathan's not that important in the whole grand scheme of the story of Dracula, but sure. I mean, he does. But it was fine, Caleb Landry Jones, is very, he's a very interesting type actor. He's got a very odd face, but he wasn't terrible. I told Ashley, I was like, look, I've seen worse movies. I was then trying to convince her that we should watch Francis Ford Coppola's version because she's never seen that.
Yeah, I might as well haven't either because I don't remember a thing about it from the last time I saw it, which is probably 20 years ago.
The only thing I distinctly remember is just the line that Gary Oldman says the I've crossed oceans of time to find you. Like, that's a Goosebumps walkway.
That's a good. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. So I probably need to revisit the Coppola one also.
Yeah,
I've been thinking
I
about
mean,
it recently, actually. Yeah, which is coincidental.
but yeah, but again, it wasn't awful. She gave me a choice though between that movie or Guillermo's Frankenstein, and I do still want to see that, but I've heard it gets very like visceral, and we were having dinner, so it's like maybe let's save that for when we're not mid eating.
Sure.
But yeah, it wasn't bad. I gave it a 3.5 on my letterbox.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, if you want to check it out, we could have a discussion on it. But I mean, honestly, if you remember, you could probably just watch Coppola's version and be like, oh, okay, cool.
I might do that instead.
Yeah. Anyway, with that being said, buddy, are you ready to hear what we're talking about today?
Yep.
Yeah. Because I told Mom, and she was like, how excited is he? I'm like, he's very excited. Yeah. So for those of you who listened in last week, which we have our normal numbers, 11 people saw Barry and Max.
Thanks, guys.
This week we are discussing the 2003 action swashbuckler adventure, Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl. Dude, even though I've seen this movie so many times, rewatching it, I was like, fuck, how did they pull this off, man? It's so good.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, for 2003, the CGI holds up, the story holds up, and it kind of led me down a rabbit hole of kind of what happened to the franchise essentially after the third movie, which I kind of mentioned in my tease last week, which is there's a significant drop off in quality as soon as Gore Verbinski stepped away from the director's chair. You know? We were all talking about it at work today, and I asked everyone, I was like, has anyone even seen the fourth and fifth ones? And only one of my coworkers were like, yeah, I've seen it. I'm like, cool. We can agree that it's widely known as, we have the trilogy and then the other two, right? And she's like, yeah, that's about right.
Soon to be other three. They're making another one, so.
Oh my god.
I know.
It better be good, man. I mean, like, I didn't see Dead Men Tell No Tales in theaters, but it better be good. That's all I gotta say.
I doubt it. I think Johnny Depp's still broke. So
yeah. But going back to the movie, the movie that started it all. So you mentioned last week in the tease that you saw this 3 times in the theater.
Yeah.
Obviously you really liked it.
Yeah.
What was it to you that, like, so 2003, you and I were
10.
Yeah. So what was it that you were like, oh my god?
It's as simple as I was 10. And it's just like it's a blast. The movie had everything, I mean, it's pirates, it's action, it's adventure, there's humor, there's a little bit of horror because like they're zombie ghost pirates. I thought that was awesome. You're right, CGI rad. Like it didn't even dawn on me this time that I should be looking for dated CGI. Like it looked fine.
It looked great.
I don't know, and like I remember my dad saying, like, he was so impressed with it. He was like, this is like an epic big movie, right? Like this is like a big movie going experience. I think a lot of that has to do with, we're using real ships, we're on the ocean, like it just seems very big, right? But you watching it, he's right. The set pieces are gigantic. The world building is huge. The attention to detail is there. I mean, it is a big, epic, fun time. I mean, it's just amazing. Now, this little fun fact, doing just the tiniest bit of research for this movie this time, this blew my mind that Keira Knightley was 17 years old when she made this movie.
I also recently learned that as well, because
I was like, nuh-uh.
I queued up the movie on Disney Plus, and I was telling Ashley, I was like, how old is young Elizabeth Swann supposed to be here versus Norrington?
Oh, I know. I thought about this time that too. I'm like, wait a minute.
There's about a 7-year age gap.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't believe.
Yeah, but yeah, it said that she's supposed to be 12, and then the movie says 8 years ago, so she's now 20. That would mean he was, he's supposed to be like 19, about to be 20, and he's like 27, 28 when the film continues.
Okay.
Yeah. But
it's debatable.
Well, but which is also crazy, because if you think about it, Norrington, the beginning of the movie, he's already a lieutenant, and he's supposed to be 19.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how naval time worked in around this time, so I'm just like, cool. But yeah, then it said like that she's supposed to be 20, and it's like, but Keira Knightley was only 17. And I was like,
so, I blew my mind. Like, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, she was a full-grown woman when I saw that movie, man. There's no way she was just 17. It's wild.
Yeah. But before I get into the synopsis, I do want to talk about this also. Little fun fact. No, I wouldn't say fun fact. It's interesting that this movie kind of kicked off the whole Disney wanting to adapt their rides into movies. Now, as we've discussed on the show before, this obviously was not the first time Disney has done this. Looking at you, Steve Guttenberg, Tower of Terror.
Hell yeah.
Which honestly, that movie fucking rocks, dude.
Movie rocks. I mean, no.
Yeah. But obviously that was not what Disney was wanting. And then of course this movie just exploded, because then we got Eddie Murphy's Haunted Mansion. And as we discussed earlier this season, a second version of Haunted Mansion. We got Jungle Cruise. I'm trying to think of another ride that they used for the basis of like a movie. I was gonna say, I almost said Tron, but I was like, no, the Tron's the reverse.
That's the opposite.
Yeah. But I think this movie in particular proved to Disney like, oh, we can take a ride concept and develop it into a movie.
I have thoughts on that, but I'll wait until after you're done with the synopsis.
That's fine. But I just wanted to bring that up now, before we get really into it, because we'll save that for when we get into it. So synopsis: Curse of the Black Pearl. Curse of the Black Pearl follows. Truly, it follows Elizabeth Swann, played by Keira Knightley, and how her day-to-day life in the Port Royal, British-occupied area of the Caribbean. She is the governess to her father, Governor Swan, played amazingly by Jonathan Pryce. Love Jonathan Pryce so much. Her, I guess you'd call Will a childhood friend. Will Turner is a blacksmith, and he longs for Elizabeth. When one day, charismatic pirate Jack Sparrow shows up, and that's essentially where the movie goes from there. The Port Royal is sacked by pirates on the mythical, legendary ship known as the Black Pearl. They kidnap Elizabeth because they're after a piece of gold that she found off of Will when he was rescued as a kid. Come to find out, this gold is cursed, because this was the gold of Cortez himself, and any mortal who removes a piece of this gold is cursed. Essentially, as I think you put it perfectly, a ghost, zombie, undead pirate. They're not living, but they're not dead. They're kind of in this middle, like limbo section. And they just want to be free of the curse. To probably feel something, to actually eat something, especially Barbossa, played by Jeffrey Rush. This is the first movie of Jeffrey Rush's I'd ever seen. And Will then enlists Jack to help him rescue Elizabeth. And there's a lot of twists and turns, and backstabbing and plotting and scheming, primarily of Jack himself. Because I think what this movie does really well, which we'll get into, is people underestimate Jack Sparrow constantly. They ultimately save the day, defeating Barbossa, lifting the curse from the pirates. Jack is able to get the Black Pearl back, which is revealed to be his original ship, which I've got some lore on that for you, which we'll get to later.
Cool.
And everyone lives happily ever after, and that's Curse of the Black Pearl. I yada-yada'd over a lot of stuff because, dude, I feel like we're going to really get into it with this one because it's just, there's so much to talk about, you know? So where would you like to begin?
That's a good question. I guess we'll start with it being an adaptation of a ride. I think,
cool.
Personally, that should be like an asterisk because, okay, yes, there is a ride at Disneyland called Pirates of the Caribbean. Yes, there is a moment where pirates in a jail cell are trying to coax a dog with the keys, with the with the bone, and trying to get the dog to go over there. Other than that, it's pretty much not the same, which is fine. I think this movie's saving grace is that there technically is no, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there technically is no like real story to that ride, Pirates of the Caribbean.
No, it's
not then. Now I think they've added stuff. They've added Jack Sparrow. They've added stuff. But not then. Then it was just like a ride, one of those like log flume, like I need a break from chaos rides. That you just meander in a little boat and you just, oh look, there's pirates. That is this film saving grace. That they're not trying to adapt a story from a 10-minute experience, right?
Yeah.
They just take the idea of pirates, they put it in the Caribbean, they, thank God they have the they have the history of the East India Trading Company to add to this world that already existed. And then they created memorable, fun characters, right? They created a really interesting story about this cursed treasure and having cool elements like they only look like zombies and like the undead when the moonlight hits. That's really cool. Like that's an interesting idea. I like that. And they just go from there. Like they did 99% of the work for the movie. Like that.
Yeah.
That is this movie's savior. And that's why it works, because they're not having to extend a story, right?
Correct. Yeah. Fully agree, because yes, I've ridden the ride since the updates and the inclusion of Jack Sparrow. Sorry, I'm watching our dog Otis. He's been having some diarrhea and he got up for a second, but
gross.
He got back down. Yes, so they've interworked Jack Sparrow into the ride, and there's new dialogue that says like they're looking for Jack. The ride itself is still kind of the same. Well, just we witness pirates sacking this town. But no, you're absolutely right, because there's, I think in total there's only 2 actual things from the ride that's in the movie, which is the prisoners trying to coax the dog to the cell so they can get the keys and get out. And the other one is when Will asks Jack, what code is Gibbs referring to? And it's, any pirate who falls behind is left behind. And there's that skeleton with the sword in its back. That's, I wouldn't say a scene, but you pass by a skeleton with a sword in its back and there's a crab kind of like, but that's it. And you're absolutely right. Like, Gore Verbinski and his team, did all the heavy lifting. The 1% is, well, here's the ride idea: Pirates in the Caribbean. Okay, cool. And this is kind of the point I was trying to make in our Haunted Mansion episode. Specifically, the new version, they try to take the ride as just the concept and build something new, as where the Eddie Murphy version does the opposite of specifically our movie that we're talking about, which is, let's really lean into the ride and make every, like, yes, it still technically has an original story, but there's too many references to the ride. There's too much. And you would think Disney would have taken Pirates as the example, as the blueprint, to be like, okay, here's how we can take the ride as a concept and expand upon that. Jungle Cruise, which I'm going to say now is not on my list.
Thank God.
Jungle Cruise tried to do something similar, which is take the ride and then just expand on it. And it does that to a point. The problem is it's just not a good movie. Sure. It's not well written. It's not well paced. I think Emily Blunt and Dwayne have good chemistry together, but yeah, you would think that this movie, with how successful this movie was, and Disney wanted to keep making more movies, taking their ride and turning it into a movie, that this movie would have been the blueprint. But the other thing, I was doing some research for the videos for today's episode, and I watched a video, and in the video, the guy narrating, I don't remember the channel's name, but he said how this movie was honestly a very big risk for Disney, because it wasn't a franchise. It wasn't, based on a book. Sure, it was based on a ride, but I mean, how do you adapt a ride into a full-length feature film and make it engaging? And it was a huge risk. Disney took the risk and it paid off. And it's just interesting that they couldn't keep this same quality going for,
Well, I mean, not only is it a risk by adapting a ride, which, when you say it out loud, that sounds ridiculous. But making it grittier and PG-13 is nuts for them. Like, it's a huge
for sure.
risk, right? And I mean, incredible. I mean, it's amazing. Like, watching this movie again and really paying attention to, like, how far did they go, right? Like, how close to the line did they get with that PG-13 rating? With, obviously, like, the pirates are scary, right? When the moonlight hits them, that's scary, right? That deserves a PG-13, I think, right? It's, it's bordering, right? Like, I think you could get away with a PG, but that's like pushing it. So I'm like, that's a reason enough, right? But then, there's some lines of dialogue. There is some just concepts that are thrown out there, like suicide. Sex is mentioned in a roundabout way, but still, it's mentioned. Sorry. So that's really interesting. And for Disney, huge risk, right? And I mean, just the idea of just like, pirates is sort of gritty, right? So at least it can be. because this isn't like a whitewashed Treasure Island. This is, um, this is getting in there, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and something else I learned from that, I think it was that same video. At this point in Hollywood, pirates movies were seen as essentially poison. Like they weren't having a good investment on returns,
yeah,
and so yeah, it was a huge risk for Disney.
yeah. Well, it's because they weren't very good. I mean, if
Yeah.
you look at, I mean, the only example I can think of right now, other than like a Treasure Island, would be it's the one with Gina Davis and Kevin Kline. I'm trying to remember that one. I think it's Kevin Kline. I remember because it was in the documentary because Drew Struzan did the poster, right?
Okay.
And the people that were talking about that poster were like, "That's the movie I wanted to see. What was on that poster? That movie is terrible."
Cutthroat Island.
Cutthroat Island. Thank you.
And it was Matthew Modine.
Oh, right. Either way, that movie was terrible. Okay. And then like it not just Cutthroat Island, but like it becomes a gimmick in sort of the zeitgeist. There's a movie called Ice Pirates from the 80s that Kale and I got drunk and watched one night when I was visiting him, and it's terrible. I mean, it's incredible how bad it is, right? But again, like that's sort of like it's schlock, right? If your movie's going to be about pirates, like it's sort of it's a given it's not going to be very good. You're not going to take it very seriously, right? And this changes everything, right?
Yeah.
This really does change people's perspective on pirates and how interesting and how entertaining and how fun it could be, and how compelling it can be. Because like after this, you have the other two sequels that, like I said last week, is sort of like a Back to the Future 2 and 3 scenario where they're connected more tightly than the first one is to the second one. Just with Davy Jones and all of that that storyline and that arc. But they do something interesting with the sequels. We'll get to this one in a second. But what I think is so interesting about this franchise, and especially the trilogy itself, is later they sort of take things that you didn't think it's sort of like retconning in a way, but not too egregious, I don't think. But things that you didn't think were important, that they're like, oh, it was important the whole time. Like the beads that are on his forehead, on Jack Sparrow's forehead. It turns out it's like a talisman or token of some kind.
Yeah.
To for like the pirate council or something.
It's to free Calypso from her
that's right.
from her
It was
binding.
that's
yeah.
Right.
Because each pirate captain in the pirate council has a token, right. And once they're all burned, she can be free.
Well, and then what's really interesting about the sequels is that things have become so common knowledge about the making of Pirates of the Caribbean that they take that into account, that you are aware of these things, like Johnny Depp sort of modeled Jack Sparrow after Keith Richards, right? And lo and behold, Keith Richards plays his dad, right? In the third installment. That's how much of a big deal Pirates of the Caribbean was. Is that this first one? Is that becomes part of public knowledge? Is that he modeled sort of his character after Keith Richards, and how that swagger, that confidence, that sort of that sort of coolness of Jack Sparrow is Keith Richards, right? And so when you're watching this third one and you're like, Keith Richards is his dad, you're like, oh, I get it. Yeah. Like that's a good idea. Good job. Right.
Yeah.
And I think, obviously a lot of the success of this movie has to be on Johnny Depp's shoulders, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, without
Agreed.
this incredibly charismatic, entertaining character, um, the movie wouldn't be as much fun. I think it would still be very good. Um, but we wouldn't have a lot of the levity. We wouldn't have um, a lot of the fun, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
without Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, I fully agree. Again, that video I watched, I'm gonna have to look it up. Because the guy makes a good point about how Jack is, Johnny Depp is for sure our main character, but Will and Elizabeth are such compelling characters as well that no one feels unimportant, especially in this
Yeah,
this
I
first
agree.
movie, especially because Keira Knightley, as we just said, being 17 years old,
Nuts.
and this is probably her first like big blockbuster film, and then of course Orlando Bloom coming off the heels of what we said, the Two Towers had already come out by this point.
Yeah.
um and so people know who he is, but they haven't seen him other than Legolas. um and then you got Johnny Depp. It just all worked so well, and I think you're right. I think the movie still would have been great, but they made the right call getting someone like Johnny to make Jack so charismatic, so likable. Because even though he is, in a way, I guess I would say, I mean, I don't like using this term, especially because I feel like modern films overuse this, but he is in a way sort of an anti-hero, but he's very likable, and everyone loves Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
He's I wouldn't even go as far as to say like he's the guy you hate you love. Like it's like he's the guy you love that you love.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I
Um
agree. Well, and to the production's credit, um Verbinski especially, is they were able to sort of like, they knew when to tell Depp no, which is great because he had wild ideas for Jack Sparrow.
really.
He wanted him to not have a nose. Um I guess like the implication would have been like syphilis, maybe, that he
Mm.
wouldn't have his nose. And like he wanted him to have like irrational, strange phobias. And it's like that's a little too much, right? Like we're getting into overly quirky and overly bizarre and strange for no reason, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so he gets to keep a lot of his quirks and his sort of um, unusual behaviors, but without it being too much. Like they knew to be like, let's keep your nose, um, and how about you yelp and you get a little afraid sometimes. How about that?
Yeah.
Because I think Depp at this time, he had been in some pretty strange stuff at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, his close friend and frequent collaborator with Tim Burton. I think that, he's so used to that at this point that he's just like, yeah, let's just, you know, like this shit's
Yeah.
going to be in, really high contrast black and white, right? And it's like, no, man. No.
Well, and it's funny you bring that up. I love that in the movie itself they kind of acknowledge that. When Gibbs is telling Will about Jack being marooned, and it says he's on this island for 3 days. Well,
They don't know it's
which we'll yeah, they don't know it's 3 days. Which we'll get into a little bit later because I did have some thoughts on that. But I love that Will's like, oh, so that explains the whole. For those of you listening, I was doing the Jack Sparrow hands. But I love that even the movie acknowledges that, Jack's a little weird, and I think that's another thing that makes it so good, is that even the movie like recognizes like, hey, like, yeah, our lead charismatic characters, he's a weird guy, but it's okay.
Yeah, he's he's very strange, but he's still so cool,
Yeah,
and I like that this movie's not, it doesn't take itself too seriously, right?
agreed.
And it does follow like the rule of cool, meaning
Mm-hmm.
like things don't have to make sense, it just needs to look cool, and you're not gonna notice, right? There's a lot of examples of this in this movie, but a couple are them hiding from the British with the rowboat under the ocean,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They would have to be able to lift or hold and pull down maybe 1,000 pounds each to be able to. I mean, it's incredible the amount of pressure they would have to, maintain for that. But it doesn't matter because it's cool, right? Also, when Elizabeth is finding out about the curse for the first time, and she gets pushed outside of the captain's quarters onto the main deck, and everyone is working, and like everyone is sort of like choreographed perfectly, and she falls in that opening, and they just so happen to be holding a sheet, and they throw it. Doesn't matter, like it's cool and it looks interesting, and it's just visual language to show like Elizabeth is overwhelmed by this by this whole situation, and like this shit's real, and she doesn't know what to do about it, right? But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't matter that logically, because obviously it's fantasy anyway, right? But this movie's just not afraid to maybe push the envelope a little bit on logic, in terms of like not just like curses are real, who cares, like that's another thing, but like, again, pulling down that rowboat or whatever, like it's not afraid to go that extra mile and push a little bit further to be entertaining and cool, and just so much fun to watch, right? Yeah. Now I want to talk a little bit about what I think you are about to talk about.
Okay.
And I'm not going to take that from you, because I'm going to tee you up for it, because I think I know what you were alluding to earlier about the lore, because I've heard about it. I've heard like theories about Jack Sparrow and his sort of backstory, which I find very interesting as it pertains to the East India Trading Company, because he is branded, which the East India Trading Company did used to do. However, they would brand their foreheads, not their wrists, with a P. I know. You can't pull your sleeve down and hide your forehead, so it's sort of like a an Aldo Rain sort of Inglourious Bastards thing, you want to have that thing prominent.
Yeah.
So go ahead, because I think it's
okay.
I find it very fascinating.
Yes. Yeah. This is something that, it's taken me years to learn, because I've seen the original trilogy. And like I mentioned at the top of the show, it is sort of divided, the trilogy and then the other two.
Right.
I've seen all 5 movies. The other 2, not great. But anyway, the original trilogy. I've seen the original trilogy numerous times. And learning more about Jack's backstory is so interesting, and I get why they left a lot of it in mystery. Like, because something that you've always told me you don't like is, you don't have to fill in that gap. Like, it's okay. It can be mysterious.
Yeah.
But I do find Jack's backstory interesting, and I wish they would have not necessarily fleshed it out more, but included it in the film. And there is a scene in the third one where we get a little bit more of this backstory, and they cut it. And I hate that they cut it, which is Jack used to haul slaves for the East India Trading Company, and eventually kind of found his moral compass again and stopped, and I believe freed his, like, I guess, last shipment, and in retaliation his ship was burned, which sunk, and that's when he made the deal with Davy Jones to raise it back up, and he renamed it the Black Pearl because it was, black.
Yeah.
And and I just love all this backstory that, now I don't know if it's confirmed or not. Now for sure he used to cargo slaves, because in the deleted scene of At World's End, he tells Beckett, people aren't cargo, because Beckett, I guess, is trying to goad him into maybe feeling guilty for not fulfilling his contract with them, and Jack kind of holds firm and is like, yeah, no, like, that wasn't okay. And I don't like that it got cut, because I feel like it adds, in my opinion, it kind of enriches his character a little bit more. I agree. I still love Jack Sparrow as he is. He could be an enigma. We never have to know his backstory. But I feel like knowing that Jack is sort of to use a D&D term, a kind of chaotic good character, makes me love him all the more,
Yeah, I can think of two reasons why they would have cut it. Number one, that movie's already 3 hours long.
Yeah.
And number two, I feel like, yes, it enriches his character. It gives him a more sympathetic, which we didn't really need, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. I mean, he's sort of like shady at times, but he's never like crossed the line into like a bad person necessarily. I mean, he does.
Right.
I mean, that's debatable too, but especially by then. But now we're crossing the line into almost entirely, at least at the third movie, we're almost entirely like mythical fantasy, like fiction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once you start adding in realistic things like that, that's sort of going to take you out of it a little, I think. And especially something that heavy. Like, he used to run slaves for the East India Trading Company. Like, that's heavy, Yeah. That's a different movie. And I don't think At World's End needs that. I think that would completely take you out of everything. You're like, well, now this Davy Jones stuff doesn't seem as important anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Yeah, especially because, I mean, that movie does have a lot of heavy subject matter in it already, with them literally going to the afterlife to save Jack, to bring him back for the fight. And I think we get a little bit of that in the Dead Men Tell No Tales, because we get a de-aged Jack Sparrow. But I'm going to be honest, I don't remember jack shit about that movie. I just remember it's like, for a brief scene we see Jack Sparrow as like a young man, but he already had the Black Pearl, so I don't know if how that fits into the continuity of that. But I just, again, like I said, it's really cool to learn that about Jack. But like, if we never got that revealed at all, that wouldn't change his character for me. Like I said, he could remain an enigma. But I also understand that, especially for the second movie, Dead Man's Chest, they had to at least touch a little bit on it, because that's where we get the reveal that Jack did make a deal with Davy Jones. So we kind of had to get a little bit of that, I guess. But yeah.
Just for a minute, I want to talk about how amazing Jeffrey Rush is.
Dude.
He's incredible. He does something in this that I think I don't know. And I need to go back and watch more of his stuff because he has a theory that people watch movies the way they read, which is left to right. And so he tried to be on the left side of the screen as often as possible, so your eyes would just be fixated on him immediately, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
So I need to go back and watch, like, maybe not The King's Speech, no thank you, but it may be other stuff, and see if he's on the left side. But he is so incredible.
Dude.
And his accent is perfect. I think it's so cool. He is so cool. He's terrifying, menacing, but charismatic, and just unbelievably magnetic. I think he is so cool. So when he shows up at the end of spoilers, when he shows up at the end of Dead Man's Chest, I mean, you're just giddy because you're like, yeah, he's the bad guy, I guess, but he's so much fun to watch.
And I fully agree, and I think it's because Gore Verbinski and his team knew, like, okay, if we've got Johnny Depp over here, we need someone over here to essentially meet him at his same level. And yeah, knocked it out of the park with Jeffrey Rush. And a lot of his choices that he makes as Barbossa is just so great, because he's Barbossa. Yeah, you're right. He's terrifying, but he's also kind of sassy. When Elizabeth first meets him and she uses, as he puts it, a lot of long words, he was like, we're just humble pirates. And he hits her with the, oh God, I had it queued up in my brain, and now I completely forgot it. But essentially, he tells her no, that they're not going to leave. Fuck, I can't remember it.
That's okay.
But I think that just makes Barbossa even more of such an interesting figure. And I love a lot of the choices that Jeffrey Rush uses, especially when he dies. Again, I've seen this movie so many times, but rewatching it now with, like, armed with all the knowledge of all the movies we've done for the show, watching Barbossa, get what he wants, but then turning immediately, realizing that it's over, because the whole movie, Barbossa's real motivations is he just wants to feel something again.
Yeah.
And he gets that. And you see sort of like a little bit of smile on him. I feel, and then the realization sets in, and, cold, because he's dying. And it just, it's so good. It's so good. And that's Jeffrey Rush, man. And
I mean, yeah, Jeffrey Rush is absolutely incredible. Yeah, I mean, he reminds me a lot of, because of the way he speaks, talking very fast and a lot, is Boyd Crowder, Walton Goggins in in Justified, where he says, someone tells him that he uses 80 words when 8 will do, and that is Barbossa in this, which I really like. I like characters that sort of are poetic in the way that they speak, but what they say and how they're saying it isn't sophisticated necessarily, but the flow of their words and their cadence and their speech is poetic, and I really like that. And I think that's Barbosa to a T, right? Also, in terms of Orlando Bloom, which he's great. What's really interesting is that he only got the job because he's in Lord of the Rings.
Really?
Yeah, so it was up between him and Heath Ledger, and
oh shit.
And Verbinski's like, oh, I think he's in those Lord of the Rings movies. So by the time this comes out, he's going to be pretty popular. So, at least recognizable, right? And they're right.
Yeah, and this other guy was in 10 Things I Hate About You.
And A Knight's Tale. Like that was forever ago. A shame, but fine. I mean, Orlando Bloom's great. There's no complaints.
I agreed. As well as I think Heath would have done. I think Heath would have done a fantastic job as Will Turner. I think Orlando Bloom just brings a lot of that, especially in the first film, kind of very like innocent, naive, like kind of love struck to the character. He only goes on this journey to save Elizabeth. And as the second and third film play out, he starts to descend more into sort of piracy and, but more as, that's just a really good arc for his character, where he starts as a blacksmith and he ends up, the captain of one of those feared pirate ships ever. And yeah, man, it's the same thing with Johnny Depp. I can't see anyone else playing Will Turner.
Yeah.
Which it's another reason why the fifth movie sucks so badly. He and Keira Knightley came back for the fifth movie for fucking cameos. And the thing that pisses me off is when we see Will, because the whole arc of the fifth movie, let me just touch on the fifth movie real quick.
Okay.
Because I only remember these elements of it, is Will and Elizabeth's son, Henry, is trying to free Will from the Dutchman's curse, which the third movie makes it seem like Will is a prime candidate to do the job of the captain of the Flying Dutchman to ferry souls that die at sea to the other side, because Will, unlike Davy Jones, has someone that loves him and cares for him, and so he's going to do the job correctly. The fifth movie makes it seem like he's just the bitch of the ship, because he tells Henry, like, we need to get you off the ship, because the movie opens with Henry trying to kill himself, but it's more so to summon his dad.
I see.
And then of course Will is freed from the curse. It undermines the third movie altogether and completely wastes Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley for cameos, which I despise. But yeah, man. And then of course even Keira Knightley, Elizabeth Swann is such a well-written female character.
I agree.
She's not even really a damsel in distress. Like, yes, in a way she needs to be rescued because she's one woman against these undead pirates, but in the final fight she holds her own. She even saves Will. Like, Elizabeth is a fantastic character. Like, rewatching the film, I was like, damn, like, she's really well written, and she's not helpless, she's not hopeless. She really holds her own.
I agree. There is, and this is, I know of two instances, okay, with Keira Knightley specifically, that it's so interesting, and this is gonna sound a little crass, and it's gonna sound like it's not important, but I think it might be. In the trivia that I read for this, she was giving an interview, and she was talking about how, for this movie, and I guess for the other ones too, that they had to, and I don't know why they needed to do this. This is like, sort of a, I don't think it was necessary, but they had to sort of create cleavage for her. Okay.
Okay.
She in this interview, she refers to her chest as pecs because she doesn't really have much, right? And so they said that she said that they had to like literally like create an illusion and like paint on her chest, right? The reason why I bring this up is because digitally for the movie, and I've only seen this movie like one time. Do you remember the movie King Arthur? It's her, it's Clive Owen, it's who else is in that
movie? I know it. I've never seen it. Isn't Eric Bana in it?
Maybe. Yeah, that sounds right.
Anyway, continue. I'll look it up.
He was also in Troy, so I don't know if you're getting that confused. He might have been in both. But on the poster, they manipulate her chest on the poster to make it seem larger. And I remember her talking about that when the movie came out. I just thought that was so interesting that's happened twice to her. Poor Keira Knightley. I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, I know. No, it was not. It was
Airbender was.
I think it was Ian Holy shit. Oh, fucking Mr. Fantastic from the 2005 Fantastic Four movie.
Got it. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, that's who it is. Mads Mikkelsen. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, Joel Edgerton, Hugh Dancy. Wow,
I know.
dude.
I remember when that movie came out. That's when I saw it. So it's been since then.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But isn't it so interesting?
But you know that when they do something similar like that in the third movie, where they have that upskirt joke thing, you know. But all that to say, except for I think for those two things, the painted on cleavage and the upskirt, and I use that in quotes, joke. Yeah, Elizabeth is just such a, and how she progresses through the trilogy.
I know. She becomes, I mean, in this movie, she's very independent, right? She's very outspoken. She's very independent. She's very sure of herself, and she is like, she doesn't need Turner or Norrington or, you know, her dad to come in and do anything for her. She's got it, right? And I mean, like, she saves Jack off the island, right? You're right. She saves Will. She is part of it. She's not just a plot device to get these men to save her and save the day, right? Like, she is part of it. But you're right. In the trilogy, she becomes more and more important and individualized.
Yeah, she becomes the pirate king.
Yeah.
In the third movie. You know, so yeah. But yeah, man, and you know, and I think that's a reason why, because I was looking it up too after I finished the movie last night. I was like, you know, I wonder how well, because I love the Gore Verbinski trilogy. I was like, I wonder how well the other two movies did. Like, I know a lot of people didn't really like At World's End, which, like I said in my tease last week, is personally my favorite.
I like At World's End. Yeah.
I love At World's End. I think, yes, it's long, but like, it's so good. So good. But it almost very drastically, like, the critic scores just like drop. Like, so if we look at this one, yeah, let me get it up real quick. The Curse of the Black Pearl is certified fresh 79% on Rotten Tomatoes. And then if we go to Dead Man's Chest, it drops 26% to 53%. And then At World's End dropped another 10%. However, On Stranger Tides and Dead Men Tell No Tales drop it another 10%. So I see that as a win. Is that the
I
trilogy still?
I could agree with those, but like I really enjoy the other two in the trilogy. I think they're really good. Um, yeah, I mean, at World's End, I guess is long, right? I mean, it's almost 3 hours. Um, but it's super entertaining. Like, I don't remember it being any sort of boring, or I don't think it's too ridiculous. I think things get more complicated, but I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily.
I agree.
Like, I get, like, if you want to compare them, like, yes, like, this movie is the perfect balance between story, entertainment, um, complexity. All of that is sort of all perfectly balanced, I think. When you start introducing other elements and other characters in the other two, I think, yes, things get more complicated and things, you know, get a little crazier in terms of story and plot and all of that, but it's still fun, you know? Like,
yeah,
I really like these movies. So,
I agree, man.
Again,
I fully
just
agree.
the first
And like
three, I haven't seen the other ones.
Yeah, well, and like I mentioned, and I guess after I say this, we can get to the wrap up.
Sure.
But like I mentioned in my tease last week, the problem with On Stranger Tides, like it has a lot of good elements, like Jack's past kind of catching up with him. My biggest issue is introducing a real world pirate into the story.
Mm-hmm.
That being Blackbeard. Even though Ian McShane is fantastic, and I think he's such a amazing, compelling actor, what we had just witnessed with At World's End is, them literally sailing into a maelstrom, which is virtually impossible. A real world pirate doesn't work with the fantastical nature that the series had become at that point. And then of course Dead Man Tell No Tales is just it's such a slog to get through, and it completely fucks with the Jack Sparrow character. Like it's like I was watching a lot of videos and people were like, yeah, this is not Jack Sparrow, this is an imitation Jack Sparrow. For the fifth movie, but the trilogy's great. Might need to watch Dead Man's Chest later, because God, the movie's so good, dude.
Yeah Agreed.
With that being said, buddy, are you ready to wrap up?
Yes. Yeah, this movie's a blast. Always will be. It's so much fun. I love these movies, man. And this one is just, I mean, it's classic. It's perfect. If you're in the mood for like a fun action adventure, like popcorn entertainment, this is it. This is what I would consider the perfect, like, fun action adventure movie.
Agreed.
And honestly, like, maybe I need to reevaluate a Cure for Wellness, but besides Rango, this is like what Gore Verbinski is known for, and like the only good stuff that he's done. It's Rango. That's about it. I hated The Lone Ranger, and I didn't really like A Cure for Wellness. So, I mean, maybe I'll need to revisit that. Because, I mean, it had such good potential.
Well, he did just do Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die.
Oh, that's true. And I have not seen that. So maybe that one's really good. I love Sam Rockwell, so I'll definitely give that a try.
He didn't write it, he just directed it, but apparently it's got 83% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Cool.
Right now, so
it looked good. So yeah. I do want to see that. So I forgot about that.
Yeah, but no, I agree, man. I think Gore Verbinski, again in that video that I watched, they said up until this point, before he'd done Pirates, the only movie he'd really been known for, and I forgot he directed this movie, was Mouse Hunt with Nathan Lane and the other guy's name I can't recall. Now I like that movie. That's a guilty pleasure movie for me because I saw the movie at a very young age and thought it was hysterical. But yeah, man. God, this movie's so good, dude.
Yeah,
I've
never seen Mouse Hunt, so I can't speak to that. But
I think you should.
Okay. We'll see.
Well, with that being said, buddy, you seemed pretty excited. So what are we talking about next week?
It's not on my list too, so it's a surprise.
Oh shit!
I know. We are discussing a movie from what is considered to be the greatest year for movies, or at least one of the greatest years for movies, which is 1999.
Okay.
And it is a movie that, with further inspection and further analysis, has become even better and more interesting in my eyes. It's become like so much darker and eerier to me because of the stuff that I have found out about this movie, in terms of I'm pretty sure this is what this is alluding to or what this means, and the implication of that is really interesting, and how sadistic the movie can be. And after I've said all that and I tell you what the movie is, you're gonna be like, I've never really thought of it as sadistic before, but that's fine. It's also the final film of this director, and I'm sure now that I've given all of that away, you probably know what it is. But next week we are discussing Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh yes!
And it's a movie that I love, and that I think is so incredibly atmospheric, and it's so stylized, and it's so cool to watch, and it's magnetic, and you can't take your eyes off it. But I have found out some stuff about it in terms of how things can be interpreted, and how things how elements of the movie can be seen with a certain lens, and I'm like, whoa, way darker than I thought. So that'll be fun to talk about.
Dude, I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Because this had made it onto my list at one point, and I think it was 2 seasons ago. Because I picked a lot of movies that I hadn't seen that really really interested me. And I want to say mom didn't give me a hard time about it, but she was like, "Oh, really? You want to talk about that movie?" And I'm like, "Why? Why not?" Because I know kind of the basic premise about it, but I've never seen it. And then I think even you, when I told you, you were like, "Oh, that's on your list?" I'm like, well, fuck. Okay. I guess not then. But then, of course, Criterion did a release of it, and I've been wanting to get that. Yeah, man. Oh, fuck.
I don't have the Criterion, but I do have the Blu-ray, which, if you do find it, make sure that it is unrated, because if you see the censored R-rated version, I mean, it's like,
I'm assuming the Criterion version is the unrated version.
I mean, no shade if it isn't. I'm just thinking, I think that I could do without the black silhouettes at the party. That's don't need it. So
yeah. Yeah, I'll see if it is, because because I definitely want the the Criterion.
It looks good. The packaging was cool. I really like the artwork that they chose. I just haven't got it. So,
yeah. Cool, man.
Yeah,
I'm really excited. I'm not gonna lie. Before we close out the episode, when you said this director's final film, I kind of forgot that Eyes Wide Shut was the final film.
Technically, yeah.
I thought you were gonna say AI.
Dude, I love that movie, man.
Which is perfectly fine. Yeah. I've only seen that movie once in my life. It freaked me the fuck out because I don't remember how old I was, but I was young and it freaked me out. And then years later, I learned that it was going to be Kubrick's final film, and then he passed away, and Spielberg picked up the torch to complete the film. Yeah. And I remember hearing like a lot of people be like, well, that's not a Kubrick film, that's a Steven Spielberg film.
Yeah,
but
I would probably agree with that. I mean, there's some stuff that you can tell is like, oh, that's kind of Kubrick-y, and then the rest of it's just Spielberg, which is fine.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, yeah. I'm excited.
Sweet.
So, all right, everyone. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode on Pirates of the Caribbean, and we will see you next week for Eyes Wide Shut.